You are listening to the Aging Starts Now podcast, where it's all about responding with confidence to the legal, financial, and personal challenges created by a disability, unexpected illness, or aging in general. Join us weekly as elder law attorneys Barbara McGinnis and Chris Johnson, along with other members of the Johnson-McGinnis Elder Care Law and Estate Planning team, talk about the tools, techniques, strategies, and services that will make the elder care journey easier for everyone involved. Get ready, because aging starts now.
Welcome to Aging Starts Now, a podcast by Johnson-McGinnis Elder Care Law and Estate Planning, where we have thoughtful conversations about planning, protection, and preserving independence at every stage of life. When someone we love needs help making important decisions, families often think their only option is conservatorship. But what if there was a way to provide support without taking away independence? Today, we're exploring a powerful alternative, supported decision-making, and how it's changing lives across Tennessee. I'm Erin Keogh-Rankin, one of the elder care coordinators here at the firm, and joining me for today's conversation is Penny Johnson, Program Director for Tennessee Center of Decision-Making Support. Welcome, Penny.
Thank you, Erin. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, glad to have you. Penny, for those who may not be familiar, what is the Tennessee Center for Decision-Making Support?
The Tennessee Center for Decision-Making Support is a program of the ARC Tennessee where we provide information to individuals with disabilities, their family members, professionals, pretty much anyone across the state about those legal practices that someone might need to put in place if someone is lacking the capacity to make some of their decisions. That could be a conservatorship, a power of attorney, a special needs trust, able savings accounts, wills or future planning documents. We help them understand what they are, how you go about getting them, the different processes, and then we also talk to them about supported decision-making and how they can incorporate that even with some of these legal documents. And we also talk about the different support services related to their specific situation, whether it's someone with an intellectual or developmental disability, someone who is aging that's got dementia or Alzheimer's, maybe someone with mental health conditions, or somebody who may have like a traumatic brain injury. It really doesn't matter. It's whoever needs this information. We kind of help them understand what they are and how they can work with them. However, we do not ever provide legal advice.
Yes, and it certainly sounds like it's pretty wide-ranging. But Penny, in everyday terms, can you explain what supported decision-making means?
Sure. So supported decision-making is a process of using a person or a team of people to help someone with a disability to make decisions. So basically, we all use supported decision-making. It can be something like asking a friend for advice, or talking to a doctor if you need to make a medical decision, or talking to a professional regarding maybe making some major financial decision. We all use that process. But when we're talking about people with disabilities, many times we just assume that they can't make the decisions, so we make them for them. So the idea of supported decision-making is teaching them how to make decisions by using these trusted advisors. At the center, we have this definition, and we call it supported decision-making is the idea that a person has the right to make decisions to the full extent of their capacity, even if they get needed support.
Love it. And who does your program primarily serve, Penny?
Well, initially, we thought we were serving that transition age youth with the goal that we just wanted parents of young adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities to know their options, so that way they can make the best informed decision about what legal documents they needed. But really, well into just a few months of the center and getting things started, we really realized that this impacted everybody, because we do have people with traumatic brain injuries who need this information, people with mental health conditions, individuals who have parents who are aging and they're trying to figure out, what do I do next? So we really serve anyone in the state. And we've even had phone calls from family members out of state who have a family member in Tennessee, and they're like, we need help with this. What do we do? And so we kind of help them also understand how that impacts them.
Right. So older adults can benefit as well as young adults transitioning, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. What misconceptions do you commonly hear from families?
I think the first and most important one is that, again, well-meaning people who are trying to support someone who maybe has a family member or knows someone with a disability, they automatically assume that because that person has an intellectual developmental disability or some kind of a cognition issue, that they have to get conservatorship, that's the only option. We hear so many times from parents of that transition age youth when a teacher or a doctor says your son or daughter has a certain disability or a certain IQ, you have to get a conservatorship. And they don't let them know that there could be other options that could help. So I think that's the biggest misconception, that it's that or nothing.
I gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Can you walk us through what happens when someone contacts your center? What does that first step look like?
So typically what we do is when we get people contact us through email, through our website, we have a contact component on our website, or maybe someone refers them to us. And the first thing we do is we reach out to them, find out a real basic information on what their situation is, and then we let them know what we do. And then we recommend that if it is something that we can't answer quickly, that's just a very simple answer, then we recommend a consultation. And that consultation, we typically allow an hour for that. If it's someone who has a language barrier, we'll allow extra time because we have to have translation services. But we really want to unpack all these options for them and all the support services. So we pretty much let them choose how they want to do that, whether it's phone calls, Zoom meeting, Teams meeting, and then we take it from there.
Gotcha. And with that, do you help individuals create formal supported decision-making agreements?
We can. If someone is interested in doing that, we will help them do that. We explain very detailed what support decision making is. We have several tools that we use, a couple that our ARC has developed, but also we are ambassadors for the Life Course Nexus, which is a nationally recognized system of different tools for all kinds of decision making and life planning. And we use their tools. We will coach the families on how to use their tools to help that person with decision making, evaluate how much help they need, where they need help, but then we will help them set up a plan if they want. We don't typically call them a supported decision-making agreement. And the reason being is so many states have a supported decision-making law. And with that is tied to a specific document that they call a SDM agreement or supported decision-making agreement, which actually works as a legal document like a power of attorney. Since Tennessee does not have a law like that, we don't like to use necessarily the term agreement because we don't want people to get confused thinking it is a legal document that they can take to a doctor's office.
Well, and I get that. That makes total sense. And with that, what kind of training then or support do you provide to the supporters, the people helping the individual making the decisions?
We will coach them again on how to use these tools. We will coach them on best practices. They can contact us pretty much as frequently as they need to. Like once we do the initial consultation, if they want what we call SDM planning or support, we will schedule follow-up appointments with the supporter or even with the individual or even their team and help them set up a plan, help them come up with who's going to help the person with certain decisions, how to do that. So they can contact us as frequently as they need. A lot of times that may be like 2 or 3 appointments every couple weeks or once a month. It just depends on what works for that team.
Right. Depends on what that need is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with that, why would you say, Penny, why is it so important that supporters understand their role is to assist and not control?
Because the purpose of supported decision making is to support the person to make their own decisions to the maximum extent they can. Now, if there are legal documents involved, obviously that legal entity has the authority to make final decisions if that's what the document allows, like as in a conservatorship. However, the idea of supported decision making is to really coach the person to understand the decision, understand the different options, the different benefits, risks, and consequences so that they can make the best informed decision they can. And even if they make a decision that maybe doesn't turn out the way they had hoped or the way that they thought it would, to help them understand how to learn from that bad choice or the consequences that came from that choice so they can make a better decision in the future. Right. And it's important that they don't take that person's voice away because then really they are becoming an alternate decision maker on their behalf.
Yes, because you really want to enhance the autonomy of that individual, right?
Exactly.
Right. Penny, without sharing confidential details, can you tell us about a success story that really captures the heart of your program?
Sure, and we even have many videos about this particular family. It was a typical situation in which the mother was told by a teacher that her son, who had just turned 18, needed to have a conservatorship, and it just so happened that someone had a flyer about the center and told the mom, well, you should call them and talk to them, thinking that we would help them get the conservatorship. When I spoke with her, I explained that's not what we do, but we do this. We explain the options, we explain this other stuff. And she said she didn't even know she had options, that she thought she had to get a conservatorship. So we scheduled the appointment. I started explaining all the legal documents, probably got through to special needs trust, and she just stopped me and she said, wait a second. I don't think my son needs a conservatorship. Can we redo this with my husband? And I said, absolutely. So we scheduled another appointment. Her and her husband, we had a consultation, went through everything. And by the time we were done, they both were absolutely sure conservatorship wasn't the best appropriate document for their son and their family, that he really needed a power of attorney. But there were a few areas they were still a little kind of iffy on, like was it a lack of capacity or he just needed a little bit more help? And at that time, we actually had an attorney who was on our advisory, who offered she would give us so many free hours every month of consultation for people in these situations that were just not sure, that she would talk to them, explain the different, kind of help them go through the decision-making process. And so I referred them to this attorney. She walked with them, talked them through this, went through everything with them. And they, again, all agreed, no, power of attorney was the right document for them. As a result, they ended up hiring her. She got them a power of attorney document. They set up a will. They set up other future planning documents. And now that's what they use. If you go on our website, you will see a couple videos. One, you'll see one with the whole family, and then one with two brothers, and it is their story. The one part of the story is their process of going through this. The other part is how the brother is going to be a long-term support for his brother, even when his parents are no longer available.
Isn't that wonderful? That is such a great success story. And yes, I do like your website. It is awesome. Penny, if someone listening today wants to learn more or get involved, what should they do?
They can contact our center, go to our website and fill a contact form, or they can contact me directly at pjohnson@thearctennessee.org, or contact our office by calling 615-248-5878, extension 322. And again, that comes to my office, and we'll be glad to talk to them about about any help that they might need or whatever it is that they want to get involved with.
Great. And are you looking for volunteers, community partners, or professionals to collaborate with?
Currently, we don't have a system set up for volunteers. However, we are always looking for community partners. We added a legal database to our website, so we are looking for attorneys who specialize in this world of conservatorship, elder care law, special needs law, who would be willing to let families be able to contact them through our website. It doesn't commit them to any kind of contract or to any discounts, but it does allow families to find attorneys in their area who specialize in these types of law. We're also always looking for partners who are willing to support the center as far as, tell other people about it. And if somebody would want to help give funding toward the center, we would take that too, because we're always looking ways to expand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As we wrap up, Penny, what would you say is the one takeaway you would like for people to have from today's conversation?
That every person with a disability has a voice, and that voice deserves to be heard within whatever capacity that they have. It's so important that we give each person an opportunity to be involved in the decisions in their lives so they can have as much autonomy as possible. Decision-making really does change over the course of a lifetime. Some people can develop over time, but then even as we get older, sometimes it's diminished. So when we're looking at decision-making for somebody, we really need to look at customizing it for the individual at that time and how that impacts them in the long term. And especially when we're dealing with older adults who a lot of times we had capacity and they lose it. It's so important that we're very mindful of giving them dignity and respect and understanding that this is hard for them, just like it is hard for the person who needs to step into those roles.
That is so true. Thank you so much. At its heart, supported decision-making is about something simple but profound, honoring a person's voice. Whether you're a parent, caregiver, professional, or someone planning for the future, today's discussion reminds us that protection and independence don't have to be opposites. With the right support system in place, individuals can remain empowered to make their own choices. Until next time, this is Aging Starts Now, a podcast of Johnson McGinnis Elder Care Law and Estate Planning, helping you plan wisely, protect independence, and age with confidence. If you live in Tennessee and would like to know more about how our firm might help you, visit us online or call us. Join us next week for another episode of Aging Starts Now.
Thank you for listening to the Aging Starts Now podcast. For more information about today's show, visit tn-elderlaw.com, click on the Free Resources tab, and then click on Aging Starts Now. You'll find the show notes there. And while you're at it, why not check out all the free resources available at tn-elderlaw.com? Document downloads, the Johnson McGinnis blog, educational videos, informative articles, helpful links, a TV show, and more. It's all there, free for the taking. If you enjoy listening to the Aging Starts Now podcast, please subscribe, rate the show, or leave us a review. It's easy to do on whatever app you use to listen. We would love your feedback on the show. Aging Starts Now. We'll be back next week with more candid discussions about the challenges created by aging, disability, and unexpected illness.